Hello everyone and welcome to your PCTS3 or your manufacturing pharmacy. So we will first discuss the introduction to manufacturing pharmacy class. So welcome to our pharmaceutical manufacturing with quality assurance and CGMP class. So what is CGMP? So when we say CGMP, this is current good manufacturing practice. So this is also one of the lessons that we will discuss here in our manufacturing pharmacy subject. We will be discussing how drugs are being made in a manufacturing plant, what are the different types of manufacturing companies, and how do they operate? Do they and how they adhere to different protocols and regulations set by the government? Yan. So our learning objectives is to define industrial pharmacy or pharmaceutical manufacturing, discuss the innovations in industrial pharmacy, enumerate and discuss the different departments in manufacturing pharmacy, and determine the different positions in manufacturing company. So what is manufacturing pharmacy class? So when we say manufacturing pharmacy, this is also known as industrial pharmacy or pharmaceutical manufacturing. This is a branch of pharmacy which presents the fundamental principles for the preparation of pharmaceutical products on large scale. It comprises of your research, production, control, and distribution. Yan. So if you can see here sa picture class, you have your production of medicines. So this is what we call your production line. What is involved here is from the different ingredients of your drug until how the drug is finished. That is your production line. So it could be from your different excipients and active ingredients until you form your complete drug na. Yan. Until it goes into packaging na. Then you also have your research and development. So this is the part of your manufacturing plant where you constantly research on the different innovations of your branded products. How can you put your drugs or your products into a higher level that will make it stand out from your competitors' products? Yan. This would be the different manufacturing process. This could be different uses of excipients that can make your drug stand out from the rest. Then you also have quality control and packing. So here, your drugs are being tested for quality control and quality assurance. How can you make sure that your drugs are stable and could have a longer shelf life in stores? And then you also have packing. This could be labeling as well as secondary enclosures for your drugs. Then your finished products will now be sent out for sales in pharmaceuticals and different consumers. This would be for your distribution na. So manufacturing pharmacy is a complex multifactorial environment with an overall aim of discovering, developing, and marketing safe and efficacious medicine. So this demands high standards and quality from its employees. Yan. Because in manufacturing or in industrial pharmacy class, you have to be very disciplined and very careful in your work. Kasi inside the manufacturing plant, there are different professionals who are involved in making your drugs and making it safe for mass consumption of your customers. So aside from pharmacists, you have biochemists, you have microbiologists, you have chemical engineers who are working to make your drugs safe. Yan. So this could be from testing all of your excipients and active ingredients for purity and quality. Yan. A microbiologist would also test it for contaminants if possible, especially if you are a manufacturing plant who deals with sterile products. Yan. Okay, so looking back from the past, how are medicines formulated? So maybe you have wondered, paano ba ginagawa yung mga medicines natin in primitive times? Yan. So what's the difference with the present trends of drug formulation? So here in ancient manufacturing processes, yan, you have those primitive types of making drugs. Yan. Yan. So if you can see class, masyadong old na talaga yung mga pictures na to, no? So in ancient times, you have people like this one. This is usually sa Asia talaga to, where you have people who are priests, yan, no? Yung sa perspective on pharmacy, no, we've learned that uh, in ancient times, priests and shamans are people who are considered experts on healing, no? So whenever they try to make a drug, yan, the way they make their medicine before in ancient times is very, very simple lang. They use water from anywhere that they can find clean water that they will use to macerate and disintegrate those plants that they will be using for medication purposes. Yan. And as time goes by, we've learned how to make this process of drug making more safe and hygienic. Yan. So, dati class in the pharmacy, we actually have compounding pharmacy, no? Which is now a practice that has been lost, especially here in the Philippines. You cannot see a manufacturing pharmacy here in the Philippines na. But in other countries, there are still countries who perform compounding, no? Especially if those types of pharmacies are those who cater to special formulated drugs or special prescriptions from physicians that you cannot find in your typical dosage or a typical formulation of drug. Yan. So here you can see that people actually compound their drugs in a simple manner lang naman, no? So even though they are handling drugs, um, the basis of safety here is not really clear yet. Unlike here, in your modern manufacturing process, you have different processes on making drugs. You have so many regulations on protocols on how to enter your manufacturing plant from one division to another. Let's say you're in a part of the plant where you have to dispense the different excipients and active ingredients. And so that is a closed room that is that is vacuum sealed, no? That where air does not flow freely inside. Yan. So this would prevent contamination of your excipients and other ingredients. So you have different protocols for different divisions in the production line. Yan. So you also have um, different tawag nito, you have different protocols also for employees on how they would enter before they enter the manufacturing plant. They should be in full PPE where they cannot touch anything with their bare skin, no? That their hairs are also completely covered as well. Yan. So for manufacturing terms, yan, you have your primary manufacturing, which is the manufacture of active pharmaceutical ingredients or your APIs, as well as excipients. You have your secondary manufacturing, which is the manufacture of finished dosage forms from APIs and excipients. And you also have your tertiary manufacturing, which is in packaging, labeling, repacking of your bulk finished products. So for drug establishment, so any organization or company involved in manufacturing, importation, repacking, and or distribution of drugs. So you also have the types of drug establishments. You have your drug manufacturer, which is any establishment engaged in operations involved in the production of a drug with the end view of of storage, distribution, and sales of products. So this would be your proprietary or your generics. This could be your ethical drugs or prescription drugs, biologicals, veterinary drugs, medicinals, chemical drugs, and you also have your toll manufacturer or your plant manufacturer. Okay. Then you also have your drug trader, which are registered owner of a drug product and procures the raw materials and packaging components. You also have your drug importer, which imports raw materials, APIs, and or drug products. You have your drug exporter, which exports raw materials, APIs, and or other drug products as well. Then you also have your drug wholesaler or distributor, which procures raw materials, APIs, and finished products from local establishments distributed on a wholesale basis. Yeah. So for the departments in a drug establishment, so you have your research and development department, which formulates and develops new products, develops and improves existing products. And so you have your chemical research, which is in the development and improvement of drugs and chemicals. You have your biological research, which is the research on the pharmacology and toxicity of drugs. You have your pharmaceutical research naman, which is the preparation of drugs in dosage form designed and tested to attain the therapeutic objective, considering good patient acceptance, stability, and the therapeutic effectiveness of these drugs. Next is departments. Another one is your production department. Yan. So this includes all areas in charge with the responsibility of producing a product from raw materials. So manufactures the product according to schedule and also includes warehousing and storage and in charge of inventory control. Another one is your quality control and quality assurance department. So this assures all operations with the manufacture of products meet the required standards of safety and efficacy before release of the product to the market. So this ensures compliance to the CGMP or your current good manufacturing practice. Yan. So you can see here, class, that your quality control and quality assurance must complement each other. Like from quality control, along the production line, how can you ensure that your drugs, all of your drugs would be safe from defects? Yan. Then in QA, this would be naman, how could you prevent all of those defects from happening naman within the production line? Yan. So this could be from staff function. Yan. This could be from the process. This could be from managerial on how you handle the production of your drugs. When we say QC naman, this is from the manufacture itself, from the process of producing your drugs. You are already testing it. Yan. So QA is there to assure that even though you are testing, that there will be prevention of defects. Another one is your marketing department. So this studies current market trades, consumer behavior, and product status in the market. And this is also concerned with advertisement and promotion of your products. So the function of your marketing department is detailing, advertising, marketing administration, and public relations. Next is your engineering department, which installs, maintains, and repairs laboratory equipment and premises, and also ensures plant and employees' safety. Yan. So, aside from your medical professionals inside your manufacturing plant, you also have those non-medicals, which is also in the engineering department, who is responsible for repairing and most importantly also calibrating your equipments. Yan. Because we as for medical professionals who are responsible for testing for quality control and assurance, we only test using the machines given to us. But in terms of repairing, in terms of calibrating it again, like let's say you have your melting point apparatus where you've used it and it is not going to the intended temperature, it does not reach the intended temperature that you are trying to achieve, then it needs to be repaired, it needs to be fixed, and it has to be calibrated. Because you are using that melting point apparatus to know how long does it take your drug to disintegrate in the heat. Yan. Ano pa? Um, let's say your friability test, no? Your friability tester is not working properly. Then you have your engineering department to help fix also as well as calibrate. Yan, yung mga digital balances, yung mga weighing scales na masyadong sensitive. That is always calibrated by your engineering department as well. So next is your purchasing department. So here in this department, they are responsible for purchasing raw materials and your active pharmaceutical ingredients to be used in the manufacture of drugs. Next is your medical department. So this is concerned with the physical examination of employees, which can be done annually or quarterly. So this medical department class is also important. You have an in-house physician who is um, making quarterly or annual checkups for its employees. This is also important, especially for those manufacturing companies who are involved in manufacturing sterile as well as radiologic materials, no? So all of those radiation could be very harmful in the long run. That is why you also have your medical department who is there to give you physical examinations. You also have your regulatory affairs department. So this ensures compliance of the company and its products with all pertinent regulations and laws about drugs and their marketing. Yan. So this one naman, this is uh, the department that ensures no that everything that is done inside of the manufacturing plant is adhering to laws that are present or laws that are being followed up to today. Then you also have your organizational chart in a manufacturing company. So here you have a typical manufacturing company where you have your president, you have your VP, and general manager, and you have the different departments na. Like we said, you have your personnel department, which coordinates labor and management relationship. You have your finance department, which forecasts cost as well as budget for your manufacturing plant. You also have your marketing department. Yan, like I said, for market research, sales and detailing, as well as advertising. Then you have your technical department, which includes your research and development, as well as QC of drugs and cosmetics. Then you have your plant department, which is involved with production control as well as warehousing of your products. So plant department, its divisions and sections. So for production control division, you have the planning and scheduling section, you have your purchasing section, as well as inventory section. Here, class, you are wondering why does it have planning and scheduling section, no? Kasi dito sa manufacturing company, yan, there are certain manufacturing companies that take up contracts from different companies to make their drugs. That is why we have what is called toll manufacturers. So when we say toll manufacturers, these are manufacturers that take on jobs from different big companies to help them mass produce their product. So let's say, for example, yung manufacturing company na um, pinasok namin before for our internship, which is Swiss Pharma, that is in Calamba, Laguna. So Swiss Pharma is also like a toll manufacturing company wherein they take on manufacturing processes of different products. So for example, you have biogesic, no? So what happens in a toll manufacturing company is, let's say you have biogesic that is from Unilab, ataya, di ba? Oo. So Unilab will give them a part of the manufacturing process for their biogesic. What happens here is Swiss Pharma will accept this and they will be in charge of mass producing their biogesic. It could be their suspensions or their tablets, no? Yan. So, let's say another company naman ang pumasok. You have your Pascual Labs, no? Which no, yung sa Pascual, Potency, yan. So for example, Potency kinuha rin nila. So you have different you should have different scheduling on what products you are going to produce for that week or let's say for that day. Yan. So sometimes kasi week yan yung pagplan and tsaka pag-schedule on production. So there must be a plan on how many must be produced within the day and within the week. Now, then you also have your purchasing section. These are responsible for all of the raw materials that will be used as well as the active ingredients for those drugs. Then you have your inventory section. This could be from procurement pa lang ng mga raw materials up to packaging and labeling of your products na. Yan. So here you have your warehouse division. So in the warehouse division, you have your raw material section. So it is also being placed in a quarantine area and it is also approved for use area. And you also have your rejected goods area. So when we say kasi quarantine area, this is the area for raw materials class that are just kakadating lang ng mga materials. So, kina-quarantine pa yan kasi once they've reached the manufacturing plant, they will still be undergoing inventory. Yan. After that, if okay na yung inventory nyo for your raw materials, then it will be approved for use area. Ililipat na naman yan sa another area where it will be labeled as good for use na. Meaning that it will be used to start the process for production na. Then you also have your rejected goods area. Dito naman, this is many factors can make your raw material section rejected, go to the rejected goods area. This could be for, let's say, insufficient yung amount na binigay sa inyo, or wrong na mga raw materials yung binigay rin sa inyo. Or let's say different different supplier yung nagbigay sa inyo. So you cannot accept that kasi you have to abide with the purchasing department. Dapat yung kinukuha nyo lang ng mga raw materials is from yung supplier na pinag-agrihan nyo na kunin nyo ng raw materials. So you have to adhere to the process and the protocol in your raw material section. So it means that everything must be according to how it is based sa papel. Yan. You go by the books. So if what is being indicated that ito lang na supplier yung kukuhanin nyo ng raw materials, sa kanila lang talaga kayo kukuha. So if ibang supplier na, you do not know if it has been tested before for quality and purity, no? Unlike if you have been taking or you have been accepting supplies from your regular supplier talaga, which have already been undergoing tests for purity, quality, and contamination pa yan. Then, dire-diretso na yung process for production yun na. Then you also have your in-process section, your finished goods area, then return goods area as well as dispensing area. Dito naman kasi sa return goods area class, this is when in the customer side, pinapabalik na yung mga products na let's say expired or may mga defects na, may mga sira. So you cannot really watch out for that, no? Kasi once it leaves the manufacturing company, then your drugs will travel through different areas, then you do not know if they are being handled properly by the distributor and wholesaler, no? So, hindi talaga yan maiiwasan that there will also be return goods. Let's say, even wrong labeling can be returned. Yan. Yung mga batch number and lot number na hindi nagko-coincide sa papers nyo, it could also be returned to the manufacturing company again. Another one is your manufacture of pharmaceuticals. Yan. So you have your liquids, medicated applications, your solids, sterile products, as well as packaging and finishing products. Yan. Then you also have the manufacture of cosmetics. You have your hair preparations, face cream powders, shaving preparations, as well as personal cleanliness, like your deodorant, bath soaps. For shaving preparations, you have your soaps, sticks, aftershave lotions, and creams. And for face cream powders, you have your lotions. For hair preparations, you have your shampoos, hair tints, as well as hair sprays. For your organizational chart for technical directors department, and you have your technical director on top, then you have your research and product development. Under that, you have your chemical research, which is your chemical development, chemical synthesis, and analytical chem. Yan. So this is all sa research, the chemical research, this is more on the raw materials and active ingredients on a chemical level, no? Then you have your biological research. This is pharmacological, animal research, and microbiologicals. Then you have your pharmaceutical research. This is farm development and analytical research as well. Then you have drug product. So a drug product is any substance or mixture of substance in finished dosage form that is manufactured, offered for sale, or presented for use. So what is the use of this drug product? This is for treatment, mitigation, cure, prevention, or diagnosis of disease, abnormal physical state, or symptoms, therefore, in man or animal. So this is for the restoration, correction, or modification of organic functions in man or animal, whether it is in packaged form. And so you also have your different oral dosage forms. Yan. So you have your liquids, you have your suspension, you have your solution, and you have your emulsions. Yan. So recap lang last, no? What is the difference between your suspension, solution, and emulsion, no? So let's go back to your DDS. So when we say solution, this is a preparation, no, of liquid mixture that is stable. Kaya now we have different um, drugs that are in solution, no? So it does not have to be mixed, or you do not have to add water to make it into a solution na. Kasi it is already stable, it is clear, and it has a good appearance. Yan. Solution. When we say naman suspension class, no? Like this coamoxiclav, suspension. When we say suspension, just like this branded drug, these are medications that um, are unstable mixtures naman. Yan, just like this. Why is it in a powdered form muna? Kasi once you've opened this, it is already prone to contamination. You have to add water because you can only use it for up to 1 week. Yan. Kasi after that, your suspension could lose its efficacy and stability, making it unpleasant to the smell as well as unpleasant to taste, because it is an unstable mixture of liquids. Yan. So ano naman yung emulsion natin? So this is also the same. Pero in case of emulsions kasi class, once this is already a mixture, an unstable mixture of solutions that are immiscible to each other. So when we say immiscible, di ba, they do not go together. So when you have seen an emulsion, you will see that in the liquid phase of the drug, there will there will be floating particles present. It is because you have two liquids that do not combine together. This is also an unstable mixture of liquids pa rin. Yan. So these are your liquid dosage forms. For your solid dosage forms naman, yan, you have your tablets, no? You have your enteric coated, you have your plain coated, then you have your capsules naman, you have your soft gel capsules, your hard shell capsules. For your semi-solid dosage forms, yan, you have your ointments, you have your creams, you also have your gels. Yan. So let's say you have a customer that came up to you and said, I have a wound that I need to put medication on. So what can you give them? No? What can you give them if the wound is a dry wound? No? Yan. So if it is a dry wound class, you can give them an ointment. If it is a moist and wet um, wound, you have to give them the cream naman. No? Kasi if you give an ointment into a moist and wet wound, that will not mix together and your ointment will not stick to the surface of your skin kasi it is already surrounded by the liquid coming out from your wound. Unlike the cream, then you also have your gels. For gaseous aerosols, under this would be your inhalations, you know, your inhalers. You also have your sprays. For sterile dosage forms, you have your ampules and vials for injection. You also have vials for inhalation as well. Yan. Then you also have your IV fluids or your intravenous fluids. You have different fluids from your plain NSS or your plain LR. You have your D5W as well, your dextrose, 5% dextrose in water. Yan. So you have also different types of intravenous fluids to give to specific patients as well. Then you also have your transdermal dosage forms. A good example for this is your scopolamine, no? Transdermal patches. You have your nitroglycerin also patch. Another one is also for those who want to quit smoking. You have your nicotine patch that can be absorbed into your superficial tissue. Yan. Then it will be distributed to your circulation. So, okay, so this would be the end of our introduction to manufacturing pharmacy. So thank you, class, for listening.